What's happening, everyone? Welcome to the Sportscast. It's me, Andy Ground. We've got Gary Judge here again from across the park. This week we are on StreamYard. It's been a bit of a hectic week for me and Gary, so apologies for that, and hope you still enjoy the show. Starting off really with, I think, the tennis. Me and you have been sexting each other the last couple of days, just being blown away by it. So let's kick off there. I love tennis anyway, but when Wimbledon comes around, it makes me want to go to the park with my little girl, get a tennis racket and just start pelting balls at her. Novak Djokovic yesterday in particular was absolutely incredible. And I want to know what you think about him, really. I'm a massive fan of him. Well, I'm a massive fan of all three of them. Obviously, Roger's, gone. Rafa probably won't be lasting much longer. Novak's the last of the three. But I feel that he doesn't get the respect he deserves. I don't know whether that was maybe over the vaccine stuff. I don't know whether some of his comments over the years and stuff, I don't know, but the tennis he's playing now, I feel like someone just needs to put respect on his name.
Phenomenal. They get the match yesterday. We're recording on Wednesday. The match yesterday against Rublev, which was the quarterfinal. The standard from the pair of them was phenomenal. Rublev was playing out of his skin, was smashing balls. You said they're smashing balls into the far corner of the court, and he's developed this ridiculous technique where he slides across the grass, which is that's a common thing on clay. Players slide across the clay and hit it. You just can't do it on grass normally because most players go for a shoe that helps them grip so they don't fall. He embraces it, slides along the grass and manages to hit, amazing defensive shot, but even more, bizarrely hit winners. He's sliding. It's just, but yeah, just in general, is the way he's adapted his game subtly over the years to suit the different services, but to try and get one over the up and coming players. In years gone by, he's been a bit of a serve volleyer at Wimbledon. Yes, in that game against Rublev, I think he only serve volleyed 6 times, one every point though when he's done it. He's just like a chameleon. He just literally just blends it wherever he goes and manages to find the subtle weaknesses in his opponents. And it's just, as sports people go, that's the mark of a true absolute GOAT, isn't it? Someone who just adapts and finds a way to always be successful throughout the ages.
You look at Ronaldo, always done it in football, the age of him, yet he's adapted wherever he's went. That's exactly what he's done, Novak. He doesn't play a lot of the tournaments now. He saved himself for the Grand Slams, which I think even that, I remember you making a comment on Real Madrid last year, how I was talking that maybe the down tools in the league to focus on the Champions League, and we were debating whether that's a good thing or not, whether, you do a Man City and pick up form at the right time, or whether you can hold fire in one and go at the other. And Novak's done it the Real Madrid way. He's just slacked off on other tournaments, and he's just such a big game player, can turn up, just put it on. And he was, again, like you said yesterday, he's such a defensive player. I think he's statistically the third defensive player this Wimbledon. And, he's doing defensive shots, but then he's just forcing errors from the other player. It was just absolutely amazing.
At a simple level, you'd call it percentage play, wouldn't it? Just keep the ball going back, and eventually your opponent's a mistake. But it's better than that. I think that's a little bit disrespectful. Do you know what I mean? The quality of his defensive shots, is such that he only needs to try and hit one winner. The minute he hits a winner, though, it stays one. It's very rare that your opponent can't.
I've not looked, but I watched it live. I'm sure there'll be some sort of highlight reel on Twitter where the guy is just absolutely smashing him down, and he's just sliding from one end to the other, getting it back, the returns in the end forces the error. It's just, and then like you say, he's equally just banging out winners. I don't know whether people don't like him in some ways because the whole vaccine, and I actually commend him. I'm not getting into a vaccine debate. What I commend him on is sticking to his guns. And, for whatever reason, he didn't want to take the vaccine. Fair enough. But he didn't succumb to pressure. He said, okay, well, I won't play in the US Open. I won't play in the Australian Open. And, they didn't break him in that sense, which I think is fair play. I don't know whether people don't like him as well because he does have a little moan about things. But again, I think when you are a big player, you become a big personality. You look at them over the years, your Mike Tysons, your Tyson Furies, your Ronaldo, everyone, these have had a little outbursts. And his one this year was about the, I wouldn't call it an outburst, but he has come out and publicly said it's not ideal to start so late on centre court. I don't think the first match is till 1:30. And that's down to the guidelines of the community areas and stuff like that, which is a fair point, because at one point I think he was playing at like 10 o'clock at night, and then
2 games, yeah, the night shift twice on a row, yeah.
So it's a fair point. It's not as if he's being this big drama queen. I think he's making a fair point, and I think some people, I heard Simon Jordan, who I actually quite like, kind of having a pop at him and saying, "Oh, he needs to, So
you've answered your question, though. I think there's a little bit of that. He's outspoken, isn't he? And a lot of the time, to just to common fans or just tennis, lovers, they're like, get on with it. You're getting paid millions of pounds. You got all these sponsorships. These tournaments and the rules and times of these tournaments have been in place well before you were around. But look, for me, I'm with you. He's earned the right to have a say. Do you know what I mean? He consistently produces. He's been a huge draw for tennis. You know what I mean? He's attracted people to tennis, like you say. Makes me want to go over the park and play tennis. Superstars like Djokovic, generational superstars, do more for the game than the game does for them. So, but I think you probably answered your question there. I think he's not as charming as Federer, is he? He hasn't got that fan charm and whatever. And likewise, I think I wouldn't say Rafa is charming, but he's always been like the poster boy, hasn't he?
Massively, yeah. Good looking.
He doesn't really fit either does he? But out of the three, for me, he's the one who's
He's got the most.
Yeah, and the other thing is, out of the other two are so aesthetically pleasing, like Federer's backhand, and Djokovic's, Rafa's forehand, and they've got like tools and certain way they play shots, whereas Djokovic just gets the job done.
I think you've nailed it, mate. You look at like Rafa, this good-looking Spanish poster boy. You look at Roger, the kind of style of the Swiss, and he's so elegant. And you've got Novak, just this big 6'3" Serb who's just bossing everyone, and it's like
he's just efficient, isn't he?
He booked himself into the semis. You've got at the moment, who's just finished the Danny Medvedev. Me and you were texting it was going to be a tricky game, and we're against Chris Eubanks, which is
name, isn't it? Yeah. You're the lad saying it. I never say Chris before it because it just puts me off.
I know. So yeah, there's a big. I think he's 6'6". It might be Chris Eubanks. His name is.
Doesn't look like a tennis player, does he?
No, he's just been beaten in the quarters. I think he's had a great tournament so far. He actually won. He was on, I think, a 9-match winning streak. He won the Mallorca Open, I think, before this. Doing really well in his kind of. I think this might have been his first Wimbledon. Done brilliant, but come up against Danny Medvedev and got beat 3-2. I fancied Medvedev, but you this morning actually said, could be an upset here. And it looked at one point there was going to be one, but he's come through it in the end. And he looks like he'll be booking himself a place in which side's at the draw against Alcaraz, it looks like.
I think Alcaraz, it looks like it's Alcaraz. Alcaraz has broken in the last set. Looks like he's going to hold after the break, which Alcaraz at this stage, when he goes one set up, they generally, unless he's playing Djokovic, the writing's on the wall for the opponents. In the case here, that's going to be a decent semi because Medvedev's a huge server. In the last match, then he made Eubanks serves look fairly lame at times. So,
and I think one of the hardest kind of matches he's had. His draw's been relatively easy. I think in one of the matches his opponent retired. I think. Yeah. So you look at it like that. I really like this Danny Medvedev, but I do hope Carlos Alcaraz can win and set up that final that we all want to see with Novak, because I think it's a little bit of a I wouldn't say I'm a proper super enthusiast for tennis, but I do watch it quite closely, and I think it's been a bit of a sad year or so with kind of Roger and Rafa coming to end, and I think this really could be so much the past now, but it's a bit of a start of a new kind of thing, and hopefully it can be them two in a final, and you can have a good ding dong.
Yeah, you've seen quite a few players in this championship, showing where the next generation is coming from. Runa's only 20 as well, who's playing. Alcaraz now, Rublev's, young. So the next generation of stars are coming through. Whether they're going to live up to the previous is would have to be some going. But yeah, you're right. I think that would be the final everyone wants to see. I actually think that the more difficult final for Djokovic would be Medvedev, you know, based on what I've seen today. But yeah, that would definitely be the final. I think all the fans want to see is Alcaraz Djokovic.
One thing I will say on the old Medvedev thing, I do think, by the way, Wimbledon, I've just got a cheek. I just think the officials, whoever it is, they banned all the Belarusian and Russian players last year because of essentially political pressure. No other Grand Slam done it. Wimbledon was the only one. 12 months on, they've realised they've basically fucked up by banning these players. The illegal war in Russia is still going on, but now they've let them play, but under a kind of false flag, if you like. I just think it's just such bullshit because it's not as if Danny Medvedev is best mates with Putin. Do you know what I mean? Some of these players were born in Russia and have lived most of their lives overseas. And
very few tennis players that actually grow up in Russia. They generally go to America or Spain and do the training there. Something and grows up with tennis players in those countries.
So I think it's enough.
No, I agree with you. It's not like a. No, yeah, I'm with you on that. I think it's. I mean, it's. I think again, I'd have a little bit more respect if they kept it up, though.
That's what I mean.
Completely change your mind.
That's what I mean. At least if you say, look, this illegal war's still going on, you're still banned. I still wouldn't agree with it, but at least you can say, oh yeah, fair one. Whereas now they've just banned these players for a year. Why? It's bullshit. Anyway, why am I too much to talk about it?
I can't remember who the game was, but it was on the women's side of the draw, and it was a Belarusian or whatever against a Ukrainian, and she refused to shake hands, and the crowd booed. And that obviously shows that the fans don't believe that the Russian players should be held accountable for what's going on in their country. Most, be careful what I say because I'm not allowed to say most, but generally speaking, it seems as though the Russian people are not for this war, are they? They're not backing the military to go and invade Ukraine. So the people are not the ones to blame here. The ones in power are.
You know what I love after your little Pickford incident? You'll never ever put anyone under the bus now. It's never. Most people. It's
never allowed to represent anyone.
I think this so, but yeah, you're right. The other thing I seen was there was 16-year-old Andreeva. I think she's Russian, and she was fined $8,000 for 2 moments of unsporting behaviour. She seemingly threw a racket twice, which got her a match point. A point deducted, which she wasn't so happy with, and then she refused to shake the umpire's hand. She's only 16, got fined $8,000, which I thought was interesting. But yeah, I think just some of the rules at Wimbledon, I mean, maybe not that one, but I think it is a bit too prim and proper. I think they try and think they're all highbrow and all that, and sometimes fucking Law Tennis Association just piss me off. LTA, yeah. There was that, mate, and then the only other thing I saw, and again, it wouldn't be the sportscast without me having some sort of, it's not even a dig, but she has been in the news this week because Martina Hingis, everyone will know that name. She's the kind of latest tennis legend to listen to the sportscast and agree with me on Emma Raducanu. I think Martina Hingis, I think had won 3 or 4 Grand Slams before she turned 20. Emma Raducanu's won the 1. And she just basically come out and said, it maybe wasn't the greatest idea to change your whole team after you won the US Open, which she essentially did after she got a bit of fame. And just said, it's going to be really difficult for her to come back, which is what I've been saying for the past 2 years on the Legged podcast. But anyway, she was the latest kind of superstar legend to come out and just show a bit of concern for her, really, which, again, aside, there is unfortunate. She's had, I think, 2 surgeries on her ankle and her wrist. So she's going to be out for the next few months. But it is really, I am genuinely joking aside now. It is a shame because it's not just a case of her getting back, to number 1 or what she was in like Britain's number 1 and a kind of top 10. It's just in general getting her back to enjoying her tennis because I'm pretty sure she's hated every minute on the tennis court for the past, for every minute since she's won that US Open. It's been a bit of a curse for her. So it is a shame. And yeah, rather than these tennis stars coming out and basically saying, well, mean, there's one thing Andy Grant on the Sportcast saying it. It's when other big legends are coming out saying it. Hopefully someone's maybe putting an arm around it and giving us some advice as well.
Well, yeah, I mean, I haven't seen, exactly how these injuries occur, but it was interesting when we talk about that. When I talk about that technique that Djokovic has got, where he slides across the court. The game I was watching, where I think Hemman pointed it out, after he played a winner, the physio jumped up and was celebrating. He said it's interesting that the physio was the first one to jump up, and it was like, that's a difficult thing to do without getting injured. So that's obviously something they've worked on as a team, to do that, and obviously work on that mobility of your ankle, because you watch his foot and it looks sore all up, but he's obviously used to that, and his groins and all that. So obviously changing your team, every time you change your team and change your coach, a certain coach is going to prefer a certain technique and a certain way of playing. And if your body's not physically able to deal with that, you're probably putting yourself under more strain than you're capable of being under. So I think I would like to think the longer that a team is working with a player, they get to know the biomechanics of that player's body, what they're capable of doing and not doing. And you probably are more likely to get injured the more you change your team, because that team haven't got that history and, seeing you grow. And particularly at that age, 16, 17, 18, 19, the body's adapting growing as well, isn't it? So I don't think there's any coincidence that the injuries have came while she's also taken over staff so often.
It's a great point, and I think if she can just get back to actually just playing tennis injury-free, she might start getting a bit of form together, and, hopefully we can see her start making her way back up the rankings. But, yeah, we spent 17 minutes talking tennis there, but I've absolutely loved it, so I make no apologies for it. One thing that I'm not excited to talk about, but it's been making pretty big news this week, and it's actually interesting that the news broke before we record, because normally we record this and then an hour later some crazy boxing news breaks. But we were thankfully aware of this before we recorded, and Tyson Fury and Francis Ngannou has been announced for October 28th, I think, in Saudi Arabia. This is a man who said he doesn't need a Rolls Royce, is happy driving around in his Passat or whatever he said he was, doesn't need money, doesn't care for money, already got more money than he needs, and is now fighting a guy who's never boxed before in Saudi Arabia for probably 100 million. You make it at what you will, because I think the guy's an idiot.
It's disappointing for heavyweight boxing and boxing in general. There's no doubt about that. I'm not massively against these crossover fights when they're the right match
and the right time.
Yeah. The one thing I'll say, and this is not in defense of Tyson Fury, he's never changed in that Tyson Fury does what Tyson Fury wants to do. Doesn't care about rankings, doesn't care about the public. He doesn't care.
He does to an extent.
What's that?
He does to an extent, because he comes out and says...
He's never been told who he's going to fight, ever.
No, when he's trying to play this kind of mental health advocate, he's trying to play this whole, do you know what I mean? Again, I'm a win.
He's playing it. That's his narrative. The world is always driven by Tyson Fury's narrative. That no one, he never allows. And again, this is not me crediting him for that or thinking it's commendable or nothing, but it doesn't surprise me. When everyone was talking about, we want the Joshua fight, we want the Usyk fight, he was never going to bow to that. In his mind, he's like, I control who I fight, where I'm going to fight them. Even when he fought Klitschko back in the day, no one thought he was worthy of that fight or he was ready for that fight or whatever. And that made him even more determined to want to go out there and beat him.
But the thing is,
rematch, he took 3 of them, or 2 rematches. So,
forget the boxing side of things, though. It really frustrates me on how, listen, anyone who's half educated knows that the guy is, like you say, then just doing things on his own terms. But unfortunately, there are a lot of stupid people out there who think that whatever Tyson Fury says is gospel. And when he's coming out saying he's going to give $1 million or his purse for the Deontay Wilder fight to the homeless, he's going to do this, he's going to do that, or he doesn't care about money, it's all bullshit. It's absolute bullshit. And I hate how people are naive to think that he means well or whatever. He's, like you said, it's the Tyson Fury show, and he's going to do what he wants when he wants. So it just annoys me how people think he's this, wow, this legend, and he's not. He's really, really disappointed me with this one, because, yeah, I'm a bit like you. I don't mind the crossover fights now and again. I really got into the whole McGregor-Mayweather one Difference was though, McGregor had arguably cleaned out the division before he took that Mayweather fight. He arguably became too big for the UFC when he took that Mayweather fight. Tyson Fury hasn't even fought the two best heavyweights yet of his time, i.e. Joshua and Usyk. And he's already failing boxing to go and fight this guy in the UFC who's never ever had a boxing match before. How can that be like commendable? You know what I mean?
It's not, I don't believe many people are commending it, in fairness. I think there's probably one of the matchups or fights or whatever that most would agree is not in the interest of anyone apart from those two fighters. Obviously, it's in Francis Ngannou's interest because he's going to hell of a lot of money, and it's a win-win situation for him. No one's expecting him to produce anything. He's going to get a bag load of cash for it, and walks away from that fight probably unharmed because he's a tough fella. Out about that, but yeah, it's a totally underwhelming, disappointing moment for heavyweight boxing.
He's 1-10.
Yeah, that's a reflection of.
Can I think of a on him?
Well, Cal wouldn't want to either.
No. So that broke this week, and again, that just pissed me off, and it made me think of the deeper point. You know, how Saudi Arabia broke boxing, because on one hand, you know, forget the reason I don't like Tyson Fury taking this money type thing is because on one hand, I don't mind people wanting to make a few extra quid. It doesn't bother me. The annoying bit about Tyson Fury is he comes out making out that he doesn't need money and he doesn't like money and he doesn't want money, when that's a load of shit. But in general, though, has Saudi broken boxing? Because you're going to get the likes of, I don't know, I'm just giving examples, but maybe Joshua and Usyk might not want to fight now ever in the UK because they just want to fight in Saudi for that big money. You know, fights may not happen now. And I'm thinking of the guys coming up on the undercards who maybe would have got chances to fight in the likes of Wembley or, you know, big stadiums that probably won't now, because all these big, massive fighters that bring the big money are now thinking, actually, you know what, I'll just wait the next 3, 4, 5 months and get me big payday in Saudi.
It's the same question as footy, isn't it? Where you're saying, why would a player go there and whatever? And, you know, if you're still in your prime, why would you go there? And then you were saying, oh, well, you go out there, get whatever, X amount, like Gerrard, wasn't it? Why is Gerrard going to Saudi or whatever? And you're like, well, he goes out there and gets X amount of money for a couple of years, then comes back. The boxers are probably thinking the same thing. Well, what's the harm in that? I'll go and fight in Saudi, then I'll come back. But they're probably kidding themselves, aren't they? As you say, once you get used to that money and that level of offer, and then you maybe getting offers Wembley or whatever for a fifth of what you were getting to go out to Saudi, it does then bring into question what they're actually in the sport for. You'd like to think that the fighters, again, let's just call it Joshua, will be going, you know what, I want to fight in front of my home fans. I want to win that title at Wembley. Do you know what I mean? So I think it's in the hands of the sports people, whether they admit it or not, and they won't admit it. It's in their hands as to whether they're going to allow Saudi to take boxing and turn it into a complete monopoly and a money machine, or whether they're going to go, you know what, no, I want to get back to the fans and I want this fight to be here, regardless of the fact that it might mean I earn, you know, a quarter of what it was if it was in Saudi.
And I think the difference is between the likes of Gerrard or any footballer going over is football will still continue if Ronaldo goes, if Gerrard goes, whoever goes. Thing is, boxing actually can't continue if, you know, the heavyweight champion of the world is only fighting once a year in Saudi for, you know, 100 million. It's because of the way boxing is, it's a kind of a one-man sport, if you like. It's one guy with the belts. When this hold-up starts to happen, it has a massive impact on the whole of boxing, whereas, you know, Liverpool, the Premier League will still continue no matter who's in it, where I think boxing, it's in a different position where if the odd few boxers say, I'm only going to fight in Saudi because they're paying 5 times more, I think that's, you know, affecting everyone else, which that's why I asked, you know, is it actually not a good thing?
No, it's a difficult one to swing though, isn't it, as well? Like, the same with golf. If you have a few of the big golfers, which they did, who went over to live golf, and then suddenly the fans go, don't really want to watch that tournament if they're not in it. Fans have got a big say, but, you know, who's going to be influencing the billions of fans to say, don't watch that fight because it's in Saudi? It's it's a difficult one to control, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. Maybe just stop on boxing for a second, and just while we're talking about Saudi, the only one thing I will say on the golf this week, this Saudi Arabian live thing has gone like to the Senate. Have you seen all this story in America coming out? So basically,
it's effectively like a takeover, isn't it?
yeah, and it's kicking up a big mess in American politics because they're basically saying, our baby of golf in the US, is now got, huge, crazy links to the Saudi government. And there's a lot of politicians who are getting a little bit worried knowing that, this is going to wrangle on for a long, long time. And you think of the kind of wealth that the PGA has, if you like, compared to the wealth that the whole Saudi Arabian government has. You reckon it's costing £100 million a year in court fees at the moment in this legal battle. Now, I think that Saudi Arabia could fight a lot longer than the PGA could at 100 million. So there's this huge problem, and now it's gone to obviously to the Senate to know that what's kind of going on. How much power will Saudi have if they're involved in the golf, if they're involved in sponsors? What right will they have with there and there? Obviously, there's a bit of a checkered past, let's say, with Saudi Arabia and America when it comes to world affairs. And it's just this Saudi thing. I think everyone laughed at it at first, didn't they? And thought, what the fuck? But now...
What though? I think the Senate will, because ultimately the PGA will make the case that, look, if you don't push this through and allow it to happen, then the Saudis will just go back to playing against us. We'd rather be with them than against them. So I think that the Senate will, personally, I think the Senate will, because it'll be in the best interest commercially of golf. And that'll be the case that PGA will make as well as Live. So listen, it shows, as you say, the enormity and how far it's, but money talks again, doesn't it?
So yeah, sorry, quickly back to boxing then as well. We had our own Scouse, Natasha Jonas, getting into a bit of a war of words with Shields, basically saying, put your money where your mouth is. As I think Shields, there's a bit of a weight difference at the moment, isn't there? But from looking at it, there's like talk that they maybe could meet at a catch weight or something. But it kind of seems to be just in the media, at least anyway, building up nicely. There's a bit of fight talk going on, which I like to see in the boxing and all that. And I think it'd be a big one for Tasha if she can kind of land that one.
It'd be a huge one financially for her. There's no doubt about that. Unfortunately, I think it could be even in her case, I think she's probably thinking, if I'm going to go out, let's go out with a load of money and let's go out fighting probably the best fighter it could. And I think it's a big step for her. Opponents she's fought, compared to the level of Krista Shields, not only in quality but in size, physique, etc. It's a different level. But listen, fair play to her. She's earned it. She's earned the right to call the likes of her out and to maybe try and get one last, we'll call it one last payday. It could be one last title. There's no, listen, in boxing, anything can happen. I just believe it's probably a clever play for me. Thinking, look, I'm going to have one last fight. Then let's make it a big one. Let's make sure I get the money in and I can look after me family in retirement.
Yeah. Any more on boxing for you, mate, before we go into the kind of crazy world of football transfers and things that are going on?
I mean, we probably haven't really spoke much about there's a couple more fights in the heavyweight division that got made, Dubois and Daniel Dubois and Usyk, which is interesting, massive for Daniel Dubois. I mean, since his knockout it was a TKO, I guess, to Joyce, he's fought a few. He had a few fights to kind of keep his rankings, if you like, at his points. I think he's ranked number 1 with the WBA as a challenger. It's an interesting one for Usyk. I think it's a fight that he'll be comfortable with. But listen, Daniel Dubois is a big puncher, massive opportunity for him. So I think that's worth a watch. Certainly, that's a decent little fight that was made there. And obviously got Dillian.
Not to be a moan again, the only motivational speaker who's negative all the time, but that's I know I agree with what you're saying, but it's not the fight we wanted, is it? Like, let's be honest.
No, but listen, from a rankings point of view, you can't argue it. It's not like Dubois number 15 or whatever. He deserves his shot. So he does.
There's three people straight away. I'd rather see Usyk fight them.
But one of them has arranged to fight with Dillian White before it. So Joshua was already pairs up with Dillian White, so that takes one out the equation. Wilder has got was Wilder potentially fighting as well.
Wilder, the Mexican that fought
Ruiz, yes. Wilder and Ruiz have been flirting back and forth there in talks, and that's probably exclusive in the sense that they probably can't go elsewhere until they've had a certain period. So he wants to keep active.
Maybe I'm being harsh on Dubois, maybe then, I don't know, but just being...
No, I think being harsh on Dubois. I think it's a great fight for Dubois. It's an amazing opportunity, isn't it? Yeah. I think you're right what you're saying. Look, there are fights out there that we want to be made that are not, but I think it's just good to see some activity, and some activity at least with top 10 fighters. All four we've just mentioned there are top 10 in most rankings, so that's better than what we've seen over the last 12 months. Yeah. Dillian White and Joshua is a rematch that Dillian White has wanted for a while. I think it's one that, in fairness to Joshua, he's probably thought, I think I can do better than that. And it's a risky one for Joshua because Dillian White can bang. I like Dillian White. I think he's found his level in his last few fights. But make no mistake about it, Dillian White could put Joshua out of there if Joshua doesn't prepare well enough. Yeah, and then suddenly all the fights we're talking about get through out the window.
Well, I see in the tournament if Joshua comes through this, then they're looking at Wilder at the end of the year.
Yeah,
you reckon? So
listen, I think that's more like it.
That's like the first fight though that I'm listening to it. I'm thinking I'll pay right now for that. I'll order it now. I want to see it. That's the only time of recent that I'm thinking, wow, yeah.
Yeah, stylistically it should work as well because Wilder can't really in a fight like that come out and try and jab because Joshua will beat him to the jab every time, so he's got to make it ugly. He'll be throwing hands left, right, and centre. And I think Joshua's prize, I mean, that's it. Because Joshua has not been the same fighter for a while now since Andy Ruiz knocked him out convincingly. So he's going into that fight thinking this fella, Wilder, is miles hard. He's much harder than Andy Ruiz is. He can punch much harder. And he's probably going to hit me a few times over the course of the fight. So, yeah, that'll be but he's got to get Dillian White out the way first.
Yeah. Can we finish off on some footy? Can we finish
on, please?
On you telling me what the fuck is going on at Goodison Park with the signing of Ashley Young, and don't even try and put a positive spin on it. Please don't.
I'm not going to put a positive. Well, I'll put a relatively positive spin on it in the sense that I'll start with the reality. There's three positions really that we need to urgently address in this window. Cover a fullback. I'll start at the top. A forward, we need a forward. There's no doubt about that. Dyche has come out and said we will get a forward. That's number one on my list. We need a winger, and we need cover a fullback. Now, it's no secret that we're not going to have much to spend, despite the fact we've sold a few of the younger players. We're probably still only going to have maybe 40, maximum 50 million to spend. If he's going to be able to get the quality of a forward to play week in, week out, and to not only play as a foil to Calvert-Lewin, but to be good enough to cover for Calvert-Lewin when he's injured, which is most of the time, we're going to spend the best part of 30 million maybe on a forward. Then a winger, you're going to need maybe, again, 10, 15 million. We might have to try and get someone in a loan. Then it brings you the fullback. We're not going to be able to afford a fullback. Now, I'm not going to turn around and say that that's the best we could do. But, it's been done. Now, again, just not to plug my podcast on here, but we interviewed Millsy. Millsy, who does the podcast with me across the park. We got a Villa fan on yesterday, one of the biggest, the biggest Villa podcast. That'll be released tonight on our channel. And he turned around and said we were gutted we didn't give Ashley Young another deal. He's been the best fullback we've had at the club for the last 3 or 4 years now. That doesn't mean to say, it doesn't take away the fact he's 38. But I guess there was a bit of a James Milner situation like you've had there, where it's like, actually, why are we letting him go when he has been good enough for us? But they did say by the same token, look, this could be the season really where he has an injury in pre-season and never plays again because he's 38.
He's fair, he played 39 games last season. So, I mean, listen.
And we don't, I don't think we necessarily need him to play that many games. I think we were looking for a player, really, where you're playing a team at home, for example. Michalenko, in some Evertonians' books, is just not good enough. In my book, he's a good defender, but he's terrible on the ball. So when you're playing a team at home that you're trying to open up and you want your fullbacks getting forward, he's not good enough. He's not good enough in possession. So
I would just be so nervous now, and I'm not even trying to be on the wind up. I'd just be so nervous now, thinking the season you had last year. I know you've just said then, the investments, it's already been kind of said it's not there, but if that's the kind of first signing of the season, a 38, 39-year-old Ashley Young, alarm bells have got to start ringing soon. That, like, I don't know what you need to do, but fuck me, you need to do something.
Oh no, it's been met with I wouldn't say anger from the Everton fans. It has been, it's certainly underwhelming in every sense of the word because it's your first signing. But then deep down, you speak to any Evertonian and you go, okay, if they're the three positions we've got to address and we've got to kind of be paupers with one of them, which one would it be? And it would definitely be the fullback position. So I think only time will tell how underwhelming that signing is. If we get to the end of the window and it's another couple of signings of that ilk, i.e. players who are well over the hill, have seen better days, maybe just coming for one more payday, then there will be serious questions and serious concerns. But I'd like to think it's just a filler. And we're still working on the bigger signings that we spend the majority of whatever cash it is we've got to spend. But listen, there's no doubt about it. It was concern going into this window. There's even more concern now that the players have come back and we've only made one signing. And that is, as you say, a 38-year-old utility player.
I'll be honest, I couldn't believe that. But yeah, I mean, I can see the few positives that you have mentioned, and I didn't realise he played that many games for Villa. So who knows? Maybe you might get another kind of James Milner signing in them, but time will tell. I was lucky enough to go to an evening with Jurgen Klopp on Saturday. Brilliant. I think every football fan, whether you're red or blue, bloody Man City, Man United, would have loved to have been in that room just as a footy fan. It was incredible. And one few things that he did say in the two signings that Liverpool have got was Alex McAllister apparently set his sights on Liverpool very early on. It was one of the easiest signings that they made. He made it clear that Liverpool was his number one choice, and apparently it was plain sailing in that. Jurgen seems really happy with him in that sense, and yeah, spoke kind of glowingly of him. Didn't really say anything I didn't know about McAllister with him being in the Prem. What was really interesting is his words on the new lad that we've signed, whose name is Soboslai. Apparently, Jurgen was saying that, I think, who did he sign from Leipzig, was it? Yeah. I think Jurgen said he knew one of the chairmen or something like that, and rang him and saying, please come on, let us have him for one more year. Apparently they were gutted to let him go. Jurgen was saying that he's the type of player where he's 22, 23, he knows he's a good-looking lad. He's one of them. He likes to be the star of the show. He likes to be the number one. So it'll be really interesting to see how he integrates him into that kind of midfield. Because Liverpool's always felt like a real team, kind of. You have your superstars like your Mo Salahs, but a real team, whereas this guy likes to kind of be the centre of attention, according to Jurgen. But Jurgen seemed quite happy with that as well. And he liked the fact that he's young and he wants to be that kind of number one. So it was nice to hear kind of the manager saying a little bit about what he likes about this new kid coming in, which is really good. He did say a few crackers, which one of the questions was to Jurgen, do you still have a relationship with a lot of the ex-players as they've kind of been and gone and things like that? And then I think Divock Origi came up in the background and everyone started saying Divock Origi. And, he's got such a place in fans' hearts. But what was really funny is, Jurgen said, Divock had some fantastic games for Liverpool. He said what people sometimes forget is Divock had some really shit games for Liverpool as well, which I thought was really funny. And again, it's as fans, we kind of forget that, don't we? I'm sure, the players where they live long in the memory, but actually you think he was fucking shite for a lot of the time as well, hence why he never played hardly. But, but it was a really good night, and just from a kind of Reds perspective, not to kind of, rub it in, as we've just been saying about Everton need to book their ideas up. But I mean, I had 6-7 pints and listening to Jurgen Klopp, but I did come away feeling pleasantly, optimistic about the season. which was quite nice after kind of somewhat of an underwhelming season that we had, which was quite good.
That's both managers you've had some intimate time with over the last 3 or 4 weeks.
I know, Dicey and Klopp, best mates now.
Well, we just done Szoboszlai. I think what's encouraging for you is particularly with those comments around his personality is you've obviously already flirted with a player but you've had an experience of a player coming from Leipzig who came with a big reputation, was dominating the league in Naby Keita. But from day one, it never felt to me like he could carry that. Do you know what I mean? He wasn't really comfortable with that pressure. Yeah. He never really, flourished, did he, under it? Whereas if you got, Szoboszlai can do that and match it obviously with his ability. And again, I've seen some comments this week around how much he enjoys the running in pre-season. He's a physical specimen as well. I think, you could be a massive signing for us.
Yeah, you just reminded me as well, the other point that Klopp made on him was I think the club he was at before Leipzig play a very similar way to both Leipzig and Liverpool, which again fits in perfectly with what you just said then about his running. So Klopp was like, he's had the perfect kind of education in how we played from his previous 2 clubs, which again, hopefully, he doesn't live up to his Naby Keita and it's more of his Steven Gerrard, but we shall see. I thought a few interesting ones, mate, as well. And I actually thought what a player this could be for Everton. Mitrovic, a big one of the Saudi clubs.
25.
Yeah, coming for him. Fulham said no, but Mitrovic just said, look, I want out of the Prem. He saw the dollar signs and he wants to be gone, which I think is another shame because you look at, listen, Fulham's done great last season, all things considered. But let's be honest, Everton are a far bigger club than them, and I thought, what a move that would have been, Mitrovic to Everton.
Yeah. I think we've, I think we missed the boat on that one, so to speak. I think when he was in the Championship, before Fulham got promoted, there was probably a chance to maybe take him, or when they first went down. But I think the price, coupled with the fact that once you've got the Saudis in with the money they're offering, probably not going to work. But yeah, it'd be a great signing. It was actually Terry, one of my good mates, read his joke for years, like you should have signed Mitrovic. Remember him saying like 3 or 4 years ago, we should sign Mitrovic. And one of our other mates going, he's been crap and all that. And obviously, he's been miles better than the forwards we've had in the last few years.
Yeah, no, he has. I've really impressed him. The goals he got as well. I think he was banned for the last 7-8 games as well, wasn't he? So he's done well.
Brilliant return there.
The other one that I thought was mad as well was Chelsea. When you go through that Chelsea team on the players that they've already lost or the players they're about to lose, I know they've got the new manager in and he's a great manager, but that is a really, really shaky squad that, you look at them and thinking, are they going to be getting top 4? But that squad they've got, Lukaku still wants to leave, Aubameyang wants to leave. You've got Sterling coming in, he's only 28, 29, but he's your kind of only really senior kind of attacking player. They've lost, obviously, Mount to United. I just went through the squad and I seen an article on it and then looked at it and yeah, considering you've got the good manager in now, it's going to be a really strange season, I think, for Chelsea. And if it stays like this, I can't see them doing a whole lot next year.
Yeah, maybe. I think Pochettino's a brilliant coach. And I think given the squad that he has at Tottenham, I think he'll be relishing this, honestly. I think you might look at it and go, well,
squad, honestly, mate, when you look at the squad and you look at the age of them and I don't know, mate, it's not like what you're thinking.
Yeah, maybe not. I still think they'll make signings, by the way. I still think they're going to make a couple of signings. They have brought a lot of cash in now and they probably shifted quite a bit off the wage bill. I still think they'll make signings. But yeah, you're right. I think Chelsea fans would probably accept it being a transitional season. I think if they can just be back up there, as in around top 6, they'll probably accept that. Knowing that they probably still need another season to get that squad the way, back to the balance that it should have. But I think like we said a few weeks ago, I think there's so many interesting narratives around like new managers and squad transitions, and obviously the likes of yourselves who had a poor season last season, but you've made a few, decent signings. So I think it's really interesting.
A couple more, mate, before we'll shoot, and a bit of a short one this week with just things that we've got to do. But I saw Man United look like they're going to be getting that Onana, the goalie. He's obviously worked with Ten Hag before at Ajax I wasn't aware of, so he obviously knows him well. I think he could be a good sign, and he gives me the feel of like I think Liverpool proved before they ended up winning the first trophy that for years and years and years Liverpool have been maybe not as good as United and Arsenal, Chelsea's, and recently Man City, but the one thing they always lacked was a good goalie. And I think I'm a big fan of Ten Hag, and I think if he is going to do bits at United, he needs a big goalie. And I think this one seems like a big personality, and he could be a massive signing for them, I think.
Yeah, you're right. Obviously, I've been very outspoken about goalies, but I think what I would without doubt say is that when you do get to that level, that's when it makes the difference. That between being a second and third, fourth, maybe drawing and losing some of those big games or winning them. And I think personality is key. And that's something I think David De Gea has always lacked, despite how good he might be as a shot stopper. Never had that presence, never had that personality of a Schmeichel, of an Alisson, of an Ederson. So I think, I think that you're right. I think that could be a huge signing for them. And unlike, I think the opposite almost applies to United that it does to Chelsea. When you start looking at some of the depth they've got, if they can bring probably one or two more players in, they have actually got a surprising amount of depth in there now. They still need a forward. I still think they need a number 9.
Yeah.
Of the level that some of the other clubs have got. But I think you put a number 9 in there, and I don't think they're a million miles off. And like you, I'm a big fan of Ten Hag as well. I think he's a brilliant coach. So I think again, I don't think this season they're quite ready to be challenging the Man Cities and maybe even yourselves yet. But I don't think they're far. I think they're very far away at all. Certainly a level up from Chelsea, without doubt.
Mate, the last I want to leave it on a question, and we will do it. I've noticed as well that we forgot to do the Sportscast quiz, and my phone is about to die. So this obviously goes out on Friday. I want to ring one of the Patreon members on Saturday and record it, and we'll get it out as a reel. So that'll be going out on Saturday. So if you do want to get involved in the quiz and win £250, get signed up on patreon.com/Legged Podcast. I'll be giving away 250 quid on Saturday.
A chance to join Patreon for £4 and potentially win 250 quid straight away.
And you just cancel it, then what do you reckon? Don't cancel it, stick with it.
That not to with his talk about betting a £4 bet to get £250 return. It's like 50 to 1, 60 to 1 winner, isn't it?
And we already know the question. It's not the hardest question in the world, is it? It's young.
No, it's not. So get on it now. Good little chance for you to steal 250 there.
But the last two things, maybe before I let you go, as I know you're busy, is Paul Pogba, $8.5 million he's going for, apparently, if you fancy him.
No. What's going on there? He was like injured for the whole of last season, wasn't he?
I think he's played literally about 270 minutes, but you can buy him for about $8.5 million if you think you can maybe have a crowdfunding page for Everton or something at the minute. Maybe I don't know.
Buy him for the new stadium. Keep him in a cupboard till Bradley Moore's ready, and then bring him out. That's mad, though.
Yeah,
I thought he had a bad injury, and he was going to kind of be back to
kick on again. No, talking about the midfielders, I seen an interview about Phillips. Obviously at City, and how he was basically when Pep called him fat, basically, and it's quite sad to think what a difficult season he had, and he was trying to compare his first season to Jack Grealish's. But then I heard Danny Murphy point out and said Jack Grealish still made 40 odd appearances in his first season, and Calvin Phillips has made 4. So I think it was a big comparison for him to try and make. But you never know if he can have a second season a little bit better than his first. But the fact that Man City were in for Rice, they bought Kovacic, to me shows that Pep isn't that keen on.
And listen, there's nothing wrong with having a few tyres down there, but they were talking about someone who's on 100 odd grand a week.
Wait, I've got called gay because I said Henderson looks ripped. So you can call someone fat, you can call someone ripped, and you're gonna offend someone. So it's fine, mate.
It's fine, mate. At least someone's give you the chance to come out at last, anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Been waiting for that moment all my life. Mate, the last question I'm going to leave you with, because a lot can happen in a week. Harry Kane went back to training today to have his talks with the big man, whose name I still can't say. By the time we record, Yeah.
He was up and then Levy. It was like, it's not hard to say.
Mm. Well,
What's the
might have talked to him as well, but a lot can happen in a week. By the next time we record the sportscast, is Harry Kane a Tottenham player?
Hopefully not, because it has a little bit of a battle on Instagram with somewhere with that. Who knows? Listen, I don't believe so. I don't believe that he will be. Maybe not the next broadcast, but I think he'll be a lot closer to not being a Tottenham player, I think.
You know, our little funny kind of analogy we said where, go to Bayern for 2 years, win a couple of Prems, come back and, win, German titles, come back. I heard on someone rang up TalkSport and said, why don't we loan him to Bayern, let him stay there for 3 years and then bring him back? And I was like, sure, fucking me, Harry said that last week.
The Tottenham fans would probably take that because they'd literally be controlling the fact that he's not going to another English club, wouldn't he? And maybe that is a compromise they'll discuss and go, listen, Ange, you're not going to win a trophy this year, and I need to win a trophy. I'll see you in 2 seasons when I've scratched that itch and I'll come and bang the 25 in and get you into the Champions League. But yeah, I hope he is done because as a little bit of I wouldn't call it a sad bet, but I was like, see you in August then when he's gone.
Listen, Gary, mate, I know we're both busy today. I appreciate your time as always, mate. Everyone who's listening, big thanks again. I always prefer being in the studio, but it just wasn't happening this week. But yeah, don't forget, get signed up on Patreon. I will be calling one of you on Saturday for a chance to win £250. And as we keep kind of teasing you with, there is going to be a rebrand going on with a lot of stuff happening in September. We're just getting ready for that. So again, all more reasons to sign up on Patreon. As always, we're grateful for your support. Keep watching, sharing, telling your friends about it. And we'll see you next week.